Cat, Cristen, thank you for joining me on GB Talks.
Thanks for having us.
First episode with two people at once, so we'll see how we go.
Which could be interesting.
What did you guys do for grand final last night?
Oh, I think I was recovering from a day with my kids, so nothing exciting.
No, I watched it. I was having the D's one. Me and Gus had a $10 wager on, which I won. And he didn't watch the end of the game. He went straight to his bedroom because he does not want to pay up.
What would he be done with his $10?
I've got no idea. Don't know. He
$10 was like a fortune when you were a kid.
He was confident he was going to win. So he thought, "No, I've got this, no worries." And then
it was a bit anticlimactic after three-quarter time.
Yeah, it was. But it was nice to see the D's have a win after so long.
All right, beautiful. Before we get too deep into it, we'll start with you girls introducing yourself. If you want to go first, Kat, just lean into the microphone a bit.
Don't make me go first.
Cristen, try how it's done.
My name's Cristen. I'm the owner of Uncut Diamond Tattoo Studio in Shepparton. I've been tattooing here for about 8 years, and Kat and I have put together a little competition for the GV, which we'll introduce in a minute.
So I am the owner of LUSH Skin and Laser Clinic here in Shepparton, which has been operating now for 5 years, and got really excited when chatting to Cristen about putting this together for Shepparton.
Yeah, it is exciting. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing together?
So this come about because Kat and I both come across a lot of clients that are unhappy with their tattoo decisions that they've made. And we see how, it makes quite a big impact on their lives and their self-esteem and that sort of thing, and how it really affects them. So we have the ability to now, potentially change someone's life through removing a tattoo and then hopefully, being able to do a cover-up, which is something that they're more proud to show. And we sort of started thinking about this idea and we put it together as a competition. So now we're trying to find the worst tattoo, I guess you would say, in the GV to be able to make this transformation come to life.
But also to use it as a platform to educate anyone considering a tattoo about, doing your research, tattoo artist, and also when it comes to the removal process, finding, a clinic and a clinician who's going to ensure that their outcome is going to be one that's safe and one that they're happy with, and that there's no long-term effects from having a treatment go wrong. Yeah.
So did you meet up with Kat to get one of your tattoos removed, or?
No, I didn't. I know Kat's outside of getting tattoo removal, I guess. And we just were just in general talking, and we just kind of come about this idea. Kat does a really, really good job on her social media of informing clients and anyone who's following about it, all of her procedures. And I think that's really good to be transparent like that and actually educate people in the treatment that they're seeking to get. I personally get a lot of questions about laser, and I know pretty much nothing about it, even though it's, it's quite the opposite really of our industry. So I genuinely wanted to learn more about it, and if I was going to learn from anyone, I definitely want to learn from someone who knows so much about it and prides herself in being able to be an expert in any of the fields that she goes after. So Kat was definitely someone that I would like to learn from, because I'm confident in her knowledge and being able to pass that on to my clients.
Yeah, that's how I'd describe you as well, Kat. How did you get those traits?
So I've held a laser license now for 10 years. In Victoria, it's actually not mandatory. So I obtained my license in Queensland over 10 years ago when I purchased my first laser machine. And I've just always had a passion for treating with lasers, because they can do things that products and certain treatments can't do, and sometimes when it comes to tattoo removal, it involves heavy hitting equipment to get the results. So I do a lot of research into equipment, and it's a massive financial cost when looking at laser machines. So I developed a bit of a passion for learning about laser machines, devices, how they work. And over the last 10 years, I've just enjoyed getting in there and bettering my knowledge every year. And with every year that goes by, you just get better at adapting your settings, learning what works, also making sure that you're taking care of the client's skin and that you're doing it safely.
Yeah. So the machinery is evolving and the knowledge?
All the time. Your training has to keep evolving. Technology moves really quickly. So it's always about keeping, your finger on the pulse, making sure that you're watching what's happening with equipment technology, advances very quickly. So it's, going to, attending a lot of forums, going to those expos, looking at all of the medical class equipment that's being released and constantly educating yourself is really important.
Yeah. Do you have any tattoos?
No.
No? You wouldn't want to be on the other end of the removal.
I would like to. I've sort of joked about getting the kids' names tattooed, but I'm a little bit of a sook, so maybe not.
We'll do one day.
How do people, how do you think people end up at the situation where they get these tattoos that are just terrible?
We had this conversation the other day, and I think it was one of the questions on our stories, what's the most common one that we sort of come across? Impulsive decisions is definitely right up
Absolutely.
there. If an artist is really good, they're generally quite booked out. So if people are being very impatient about wanting to get this tattoo right now, it could be an issue if they're chasing an artist who's not quite up to the standard that they're expecting. I think it's really difficult with tattooing because a lot of it just comes down to artwork. So it's quite an opinion, based type thing. What some person thinks is a really good tattoo, the next person thinks, oh, that's a bit of trash. So it's, it really comes down to that person being confident in the artist that they're going to. And if they know nothing about them and they just want to just impulsively jump in and get something done, quite often we say that they're disappointed with the final result once it's healed.
Yeah.
And when it comes to removal, often when I'm sitting with them and I'm asking them about their tattoo, there's always that story.
Yeah.
It was at 2 a.m, I was drunk and it was a bit of a dare. So there's always that regretful decision where it's just on impulse, or they haven't really thought about it, or have had the idea that it's okay, I'll have it laser removed, but it's if I don't like it. But that's not always that simple.
Yeah, definitely. I'm surprised tattoo artists do that.
What's that?
Tattoo drunk people at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Unfortunately in this industry, that not everyone's a professional, and they're happy to take people's money because at the end of the day they figure they need to pay their bills as well.
Yeah.
Which it's a fair call, but at the same time it's like you have to have some sort of professional responsibility in what you're doing, and if someone's under the influence or at that time of night not making necessarily good decisions for their life, as an artist, you probably should, recommend that they don't go through with something like that. However, it does happen, yeah.
And can you just buy a tattoo gun online?
Yeah, look, you can. There's the reputable tattoo supply companies won't sell to the general public. They will check that you are from a studio that's registered with the health department before they'll supply with anything, and that's professional quality equipment. The equipment that you'd probably be referring to from eBay and places like that is definitely not professional quality equipment, and even an artist with a lot of experience probably couldn't do a very good tattoo at the end of it. Okay. Using that sort of equipment. So I definitely recommend don't go down that path. People are thinking I'll just buy a kit, and also the quality of the inks and the ingredients that are in them are not necessarily like medical grade or even Australian standards in some cases, so it's definitely a big no-no.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking was what's popular changes. If I could have got tattoos when I was 16, I would have covered in traditional tattoos. Mm-hmm. But now when I see them, they're a bit cringy to me.
Yeah, that's right. That's that opinion thing as well. And we do see trends come and go. A lot of the time, we had this massive tribal trend that sort of come through the 90s, and we're actually seeing that come back through again now. So it's interesting how that will sort of go full circle. And we also see a lot of tribal tattoos that are now being removed because it's been a few years down the track and they're starting to look a bit old, and I just made a quick decision. I thought I'd go with the trend, and that's
what I see a lot of is the good old tramp stamp. Yeah. I tend to see a lot of women having that removed now. 20 years ago, that was huge, where they were having that above. The low cut jeans and the tramp stamp at the top.
I think the 20-year thing is sort of what I tend to refer to a lot with my clients as well. I reckon when you get 20 years down the track, that's when you your life is very different from what it was, and your decision may not suit that lifestyle now. I think that's probably what they should be projecting themselves into the future of, is this something I'm going to maybe not want in 20 years' time,
Yeah.
So it could be in a very different place by then.
People don't think over multiple time frames, though.
No, they don't, but sometimes it's good advice to stop and just have a bit of a think about it.
Yeah. So can we dive more into the process of removing a tattoo and why some would be harder than others?
Yeah, sure. So with tattoo removal, there's a few things you really need to consider is where the tattoo is located. So when a tattoo is located on the further extremities of the body, so let's just say hands and feet, they generally take a lot longer to move because you're relying on your lymphatic system. So you're relying on your body's immunity to basically flush out the pigment that we shatter with lasers. So someone who maybe has a tattoo on the wrist or on the foot that they want removed nice and quickly, I would always say to them, well, very honestly and openly, that that's not going to happen. That's something that may take a 12, 18-month period. So you need to consider time frame as well. That's something that's important. The type of the skin that you're working with. Some skins traditionally, the client may be on certain medications that like a blood thinner, that may make them unsuitable for treatment. The type of skin, it may be too thin or compromised. So there are some instances where not everybody's suitable for removal. So again, this is where we try and educate thinking about that tattoo process because you may not be suitable to have that tattoo removed. So there's a few things we consider. Lifestyle, if we sometimes get a lot of tradies in wanting sleeves removed. But if we know they're working outdoors and they're exposing that area to the sun, I'm going to refuse the treatment because we don't want them having sun exposure on the area. And we do have some men who may wear like a sock or a sleeve over the top to protect them during treatment because they really want it removed. So lifestyle is something that will either determine whether they're suitable or not.
What medications would stop somebody from getting tattoo removed?
So there are some medications that, someone who may be, let's just say, on warfarin, so that's a blood thinner. With treatment, you can bruise with lasers. So you can imagine if they have, thinning their blood through medications and you're lasering them, you would literally be having blood blisters that would potentially form or break and burst with the skin. So you wouldn't be performing treatment. And also some medications like you may have a client who's on some anti-anxiety medication as well. They may be quite anxious and nervous during treatment as well. So there's also the psychological aspect of it too. It can be quite intense for a lot of clients. So you want to make sure that they're going to be able to mentally cope with the journey of the laser removal as well.
Yeah. Do you help guide them through that?
Oh, I'm very honest, and I don't shy away from being very honest in the consultations to what they can expect. It's certainly not for everybody. And I like to make sure that I'm qualifying the clients really well, that they're fully understanding of what it is they're about to have done. It seems simple, you go in, have a tattoo removed with laser, but it's actually not a simple process. It is a journey, it does take quite some time, and they mentally just need to prepare for that, do all the right things, and make sure that they understand it's long term to get the best result. Yeah.
Can you remove colour?
You can remove colour. It's a lot trickier to remove.
Yeah.
So blue is quite tricky to remove, blue and green and purple. Often when a red pigment has gone into the skin, it can be quite reactive. I don't know if you find that at all, but some clients, when the tattoo goes in using colour, if it's quite reactive, often, probably 90% of the time when you remove that colour with laser, the same thing will happen. It can be quite reactive. So you also need to be a bit careful about removing colour with laser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody gets a not impressive tattoo, and 20 years later they come and see you, and you sit down and have a consult with them, and you explain what they can expect to receive.
As far as you mean treatment time?
Yeah,
I think it's really important to be very upfront about what they can expect. If I honestly don't believe that my laser is going to be able to be effective in removing the treatment, there is another laser on the market called a pico laser, which is fantastic for colour, shattering the pigment really quickly into smaller particles than a Q-switch laser, which is what I have. However, it is a much more costly process using a pico laser, so that's something that they may need to weigh up as well.
Yeah. This will be hard to do, but if we're going to give the audience an idea, let's say somebody came in with a 15 centimetre tramp stamp and it was all black, like what are we thinking? How many sessions?
Depends on the ink. So some inks that tattoo artists use contain reflective particles. So when you first start lasering it, you've actually got to break down the bulk of that ink before you start to see a removal process starting to take place. So let's just say there's not those reflective particles. You're looking at perhaps 8 treatments. to remove, and if they're really stubborn inks, you could be looking at up to 15 treatments.
Yeah,
So
okay.
usually we benchmark between 6 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody who's looking for a laser service to look for? Because I walk around the streets and sometimes I see the little neon sign saying laser removal.
Yeah. I caution everybody to please do their research. I can't tell you how many times I've seen clients burnt and disfigured permanently as a result of laser treatment. They have gone to someone with a tattoo in hopes to remove it, and they're stuck with a scar that from the removal has burnt and blistered severely. The scar is not something that then can be rectified. So to prevent them going down the path where, they're then living with a scar for the rest of their life, do their research. Look into, does that person have a background in skin? Do they understand skin? Anybody can obtain a laser, but do they understand how skin works, how it heals? Can they guide you through a process if something goes wrong, how to treat you post-procedure? I think that's really important. Not all laser machines are equal. We've invested over $300,000 worth of laser equipment in the clinic, and you can literally buy a laser, as we said, on eBay for $6,000. So you want to make sure that the laser is a class 4 medical grade laser that person is going to be treating you with. That's imperative. That they hold a license, not just a laser safety officer certificate, which anyone can obtain online in a couple of days, but that they've done specific training and they understand how to safely remove tattoos, because it is quite a process, and what that tattoo looks like over the next few days can be quite scary. So there's blisters, bruising, it can be quite confronting for some people. So they need to make sure that clinician can support them through that stage, that they can reach out and contact them and feel rest assured that person knows how to care for them post-treatment. So research, qualifications, equipment, do your research.
It almost sounds like they're going to have to learn the same lesson twice. They go get a cheap tattoo, and then you go get the most affordable laser removal service and you end up with another nightmare.
Yeah, and that's if you can get them to the laser removal stage, because we see a lot of people come in and they say, I want to cover this with this. And when you explain to them it's not possible, it's going to end up with a bigger mess, and then they'll possibly leave and get somebody else to try and cover it up. They've got an even bigger mess, twice the amount of ink, and then someone like Kat's got to then deal with an even bigger problem. So from the very beginning, even when you're researching your artist, it's exactly what Kat said. It's research, and make sure that you're confident in the process that you're about to undertake, because it is life-changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do many cover-ups?
We do them on a case-by-case basis. If I think it's straightforward and it's something that I can get a really good result for them, then I'll definitely take it on. However, if I have any concerns about it, I'll almost always recommend getting some laser, even just a few sessions to lighten it, to break it up a little bit, and then we'll have a more successful end result for them.
Yeah, I was on the Instagram page last night having a look, and I don't know if I've never seen it before, but what I seen was amazing. It looked like the tattoo was just disappearing. Was that actually what was happening?
No,
or?
So what you're seeing is when we're treating, you're seeing that white, almost, it's called frosting or ghosting that appears.
Yeah.
So that's the tattoo. Basically, we're getting that reaction that we're looking for from the body. That only lasts for anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes. It does look amazing to watch, and it's very rewarding and satisfying watching that tattoo being treated, but unfortunately that's not the tattoo being removed.
Okay.
That's just a very short-term side effect.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a tattoo on my foot, and I wouldn't say it's seen a lot of sun, and it's almost gone. Why do tattoos leave the extremities in that regard? Like, people get tattoos on their hands and they seem to go away pretty fast.
Yes.
And feet, but not necessarily with laser.
Is it on the top of your foot? Or?
Yeah, on the top.
Yeah, so I guess it just depends on the, it depends on a lot of things. It depends on the skin type. Like, you sort of get around to, like, on the palms of your hands, and that sort of skin doesn't like to hold ink very well. And I think it's got a lot to do with the amount of time that the skin is actually open for. It takes a little bit longer for it to heal, so it has a little bit more of a chance for the ink to actually come back out. It has a lot to do with your body's immune system and how well that works as well. Some people's body is really good at removing ink
Yeah,
and
okay.
some people's body, has a lot of trouble just healing skin in general. They might have something like diabetes or something like that, which can also alter the final effects. Over time, sun exposure is probably the main one that will change a tattoo. But in general, it would be impossible sort of to say exactly what's going on in your situation.
Yeah, okay.
But they're sort of the main reasons why you would sort of see a change in a tattoo over time is during that healing process, something that's happened,
Yeah. Do you have any 2 a.m. drunk tattoos?
No. Completely can say no on that one.
How much does it hurt getting a tattoo lasered? Because you hear it's worse than the tattoo.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be brutally honest, as I am with all consults when it comes to lasers. It is uncomfortable. I describe it as a rubber band flicking on the skin. So it's that real flick sensation, and we recently removed one of started the removal process on Kristen's tattoos, so I'll let her share her experience with you on what that felt like. But it's certainly not pain-free. It is uncomfortable. We use what's called a Zimmer chiller, and you'll probably see in the videos we're holding a little hose whilst we're treating, and that blows freezing cold air onto the skin, almost creating a bit of a numbing effect on the skin. Some clients who are really nervous, don't have a great pain threshold, have the option of using an anaesthetic as well.
Okay.
Which they apply to the area and makes it a bit more comfortable.
Yeah. It's worth any price. If you've got something on your body that you don't like, you would sit there through the pain. I could see myself doing that if there was something.
You've got some girls who will tell you their stories where they've covered their bodies for 20 years because of a tattoo, where in summer they're completely covering their bodies and they've realised, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to cover up every summer. They dread summer because of tattoos that they may have on their body. So when they're laying there and they're going through the process, they know it's uncomfortable, but they do it with, there's an end goal here, and they're prepared to work through it. And we work with them. Sometimes I might turn down the speed at which the laser is working at just to make it a bit more comfortable for them. So there's a few things that I can do, stop and start to work through getting to the end of that treatment.
Yeah. How did it feel, Kristen?
Very much like the rubber band analogy there.
I think she's super tough.
I decided to go through it without numbing cream. Kat advised me to use it, but I sort of felt a bit brave and thought, no, I actually want to be able to describe it and say exactly what it felt like and what it felt like. So time frame, it was probably less than 2 minutes for the whole session to be over with. So I think even intense pain, most people would sort of be able to sit through for a very short amount of time. It was probably intensity, maybe a little bit more intense than getting the tattoo in the first place, but just in a shorter time frame.
Yeah.
So I was over it by the end. I wouldn't have liked to sit there for too much longer, to put it that way. And from now on, I probably would use numbing cream just to make that process. And it's unnecessary pain if you don't need to go through it. But I definitely wanted to see what it really felt like, and so I can tell people. And I think if you have a decent pain tolerance, you could probably sit there for it without too much trouble.
Yeah, great. How big was the area that took 2 minutes to do?
It was small area.
Cat,
maybe 5x5 or 6x5.
Oh yeah, wow.
Really nice. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I can see it now. It looks like it's faded a lot.
Yeah, it's quite bruised, a bit swollen. It's been really itchy the last couple of days.
Which means it's healing. That itchy sensation is the tattoo healing.
And I've been taking photos of it as we go along, so I'll be able to sort of put it together and post it on our page so people will be able to actually see the process. We sort of are trying to be pretty transparent about this whole thing and make it a little less scary for someone to go and try and attempt to go down that path. I think there's not a lot of education out there.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people that seem to be open with their time to educate people on it as well.
And I think for me, it genuinely breaks my heart when I'm in a consultation with a client who struggles to remove their clothes and they're so self-conscious to show me, and then when they do, they struggle to make eye contact with you because it has mentally impacted them so much, and revealing that tattoo to you is one of the hardest things that they have to do. And I can see the state that they're in, and it breaks my heart to think that not only did they have a tattoo that they dislike so much, but they've gone somewhere to have it treated, and now they've got this scar, and it's gone from impacting them in one sense to a whole new level. And it genuinely breaks my heart to see them go through that and to see them in that state. So if we can come together and educate 2 or 3 people from going down that path, for us that means so much. So that's why I think this is so important.
Yeah, and just adding on to that, like a lot of people think, you know, the only tattoos you're going to want removed are ones that are not professionally done, or, you know, that look pretty bad. But I think what's important to note is that a lot of the ones that we see, actually, it's the emotional connection that they have to that tattoo or that time of their life, you know, and like an ex-partner's name, or, you know, something like that, or something that they've been through, someone tattooed them that they didn't, you know, they then had a falling out with, and they just think about that part of their life every time they look at this tattoo, and they're shameful of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, being able to sort of help them through that and release them from that, having that on their shoulders is hugely, like, it's massively rewarding for us. But yeah, it's definitely something people probably need to think about a little bit when they're choosing the tattoo that they want, that they try not to, you know, end up in a position like that in the future, if that's avoidable at all.
It's such a cool idea, because people would feel so vulnerable, and what you guys are doing is going to make a big difference, because a lot of the fear is just from understanding what's actually going to happen.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
And trusting the person that's doing to be a professional as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the comp that you're running at the moment?
Yeah, so we came up with an idea that one, we'd create a platform where it gave, I guess, our entrants the opportunity to submit their tattoos, something that they were really wanting to have removed and covered, and to submit their stories as well. And then what we would do is we would let the Shepparton community decide which tattoo they thought that would be most deserving of the removal, and we'd narrow it down to perhaps 6 or 3. And then Cristen and I would finalise a winner, and that we would give them their laser tattoo removal at no charge, as well as a cover up. So we want them to, I guess, get a second chance. Get a second chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Instagram page is like how you're presenting the business, mostly through that. Yeah. And it's Show Us Your Skin.
Show Us Your Ink.
Show Us Your Ink.
Is the Instagram page. No, that's it.
And it's quite a big prize.
Yeah, it's a massive prize. I think it'll be, you know, even more importantly, aside from the dollar figure that, you know, we've estimated it to be worth, it's just how life-changing it will be for someone who will hopefully be able to completely change.
And rewarding for us to do that for them. We want to also show Shepparton that person's journey. So we're going to be documenting them coming in for removal and Cristen doing their cover-up. So we're going to document this person's journey as well. So not just give them the prize, but show Shepparton how we go about that. Yeah.
And all the stories are on the Instagram page, and I was having a look at them last night. Is there any that come to your mind as your favourites?
All of them. Like, seriously,
they're all special.
Of them. I don't even think that I have one that really stands out to me. We sort of discuss it every now and again, like, oh, what do you think about this one or that one? And it's like, oh, no, wait, what about that one? And that, like, all of them are worthy. I don't think we've had any come through yet that we sort of haven't thought were deserving of a win for this prize. Yeah,
100%. Like, something from break your heart, though, like you were saying, Kat. Like,
I've said to Cristen, you know, there's so many people that have entered, and I said, Cristen, even if this person doesn't win, I just want to give them the removal. Anyway, I just want to do this for them for free. I want to help everybody every time I see them come through. I wish I could do that for everybody, because I know how much it means to them. Yeah, and I mean, you'd say so while you've just read the stories on the Instagram page and how much that sort of touches you. You can only imagine what we see when we're, you know, in the store doing a consultation on this stuff, and the emotion that you see on these people, and you just, it's really unfortunate that they've found themselves in those positions. About 18 months ago, I had a girl come into the clinic who her partner had tattooed his name into her body unwillingly, and she was not in a great place at the time, and her mum had actually brought her in wanting me to, you know, please help remove the tattoo, because she just felt so, I guess, captured by the tattoo. And it was probably one of the most emotional journeys for me whilst treating laser, to treat her at the beginning, seeing how fragile she was, the place she was in. But the most rewarding, because every time she came in, I could see She had a lot of support around her from her family. She was growing and coming back into her own and finding herself again. And the smile every time I would see her, that she'd check the tattoo and it was fading and it was moving, and it was almost like I was just watching her reclaim herself. And when I got to the end of the journey and the removal for her, I was so happy for her inside, because the first time I met with her, I was so impacted by her story. I think for a week, all I could do was think about her and how someone could do that to her, and it really impacted me so much, and it was the most rewarding tattoo for me to remove. And that's why I guess I love being able to help people in this way, and why it's so important to me, because it's life-changing to those people.
Does this service that we're talking about specifically now, is it different to the other services that you provide at your clinic in regards to how it makes the client feel?
I think this was really special for me, because her story was something that, as a woman, I felt that she was poorly treated on so many levels, and it really touched me. But I think all of the treatments that we offer, we're there to improve how people feel about themselves and their confidence. And over the years, I can't tell you how many times I've had clients express their gratitude and cry and tell me how beautiful they feel when they leave the clinic. And that is the exact reason why I do what I do, because I have the ability to change how people feel about themselves. I remove breast cancer radiation tattoo markers for free for anyone in the Goulburn Valley. So any woman who's had breast cancer, they have tattoos tattooed on their body. So I remove them free of charge. So when those women come in and they sit up and they cry after that first treatment, I'm a mess. I'm crying with them. It's something that impacts me so much for not just that day, but for days to come. I feel the effects of what I'm doing for these women. And it's a service I don't charge for. And I can't explain how I feel inside doing that for women. There's no words to explain it.
So that's so amazing, Kat. Like, I know this is a hard question to answer, but can you elaborate more on how it makes you feel? Like, do you feel like you're a pillar in the community? And
no, I don't feel like I'm a pillar in the community. I think that everyone will come in and they'll have different stories about their breast cancer tattoos, for example. Some women see them as their battle scars and they're proud of them, and some will be feeling like they're, I guess, feeling like they're a constant reminder of the hardest time that they've been through in their life. So everybody will view them differently. And I've seen women who sort of stand at the front of the clinic. Will I walk in? Won't I walk in? And I know straight away what I'm seeing. They're standing at the door, and it's taking those steps to walk in that are so hard for them. And I've seen women walk past a number of times, and they think about it, and they make that decision to walk through the door. And I know before I've even spoken to them how hard just that first step was for them to come into the clinic. And I won't say I treat them extra special, but I'm emotionally connected to them on a different level to perhaps somebody that I'm treating with skin, because I know that, their life hung in the balance through their journey of breast cancer. They really fought for their life, I guess. So it's special and it touches me, and I just feel, I have this machine that can change their lives. It takes me 2 seconds. Why would I charge for that? Like, they come in and I can do something with a couple of flicks of a switch of a laser that's going to change their life. I've got this amazing machine, I've got the tools, it's my time, and it means so much because I know how much it means to them that I'm not going to, I love doing it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you did that. That's so cool that you do that for people who've conquered
I just can't explain
breast cancer.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah. What are you going to do with the cover-up? How's that going to work?
That'll just depend on what the client really wants to achieve, I guess. Like, we've suggested to people to send through a few ideas of what they'd like to cover it up with. When we narrow it down to our last few finalists, that will also come into play then. What we think is actually going to be a really good result at the end of it for this person. So once they've been through the laser process, do I actually think that would cover that quite well? And we'd get a really good result for them. So that'll all come into play then, and it'll be very individual, like every tattoo. Yeah. What people actually want. Yeah.
I think what I love about Kristen's tattoo is I always say she has a very artistic flair. I think tattooing is art, and when I see her drawing and her art, and as you know, her amazing drawings, I really admire her artistic flair. I think it's not just about putting ink in the skin, it's an artistic eye, and I think I just adore her work and how she works.
Thank you.
Yeah. And like we mentioned last time you're on the podcast, when people get portraits and stuff like that, it's usually someone very important to them.
Yeah, it's exactly what Kat was describing. That's that emotional connection to it, and that's what I get out of it as well. You know, like so many memorial portraits and stuff like that, people are in tears at the end of it because now they feel like they can carry that person, you know, with them and help them through that grief. And if I can do that for them, then it's, you know, that's sort of like, that's what I'm here for, you know what I mean? And it might not be a portrait, it could be just a name or a, you know, some sort of symbol that reminds you of them. And I come from a family with not many tattoos. They didn't really understand, like, why are you doing this? Until I started doing these portraits of people that they were familiar with and that they know, and even of them. My sister's got tattoos of my parents on her arm, and my mum was like in tears when she seen it, and so now she gets it. She says to me, you know, now I get it, now I get what you're trying to do here. It's not like a tat, you know, like what might come to your mind even, you know, 20 years ago, what would have popped into people's head. You know, nowadays it's completely different. And it's helping people, as you were saying, you know, it's changes how they feel about themselves, and that's such a rewarding thing to be able to essentially give someone more confidence in just being who they are. And Shay describes it really well. One of my apprentices, she says, I just feel like I'm more myself every time I get another tattoo, and you know, being able to be a part of that process for her is just huge. Like, can't put any more weight on it than that, you know.
Yeah. On my Snapchat highlights, this little show always pops up where they get people who are fully tattooed and they cover them all up with makeup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when the girls walk out and they see themselves without their tattoos, they hate it.
Yeah.
They're like this looks disgusting to me. Yeah, this isn't me. And it's just like, well, like it's just
quite confronting.
They're so those tattoos are just so important to that individual that it is the.
Yeah.
It's like
it's their identity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How do the Shepparton locals pick the winner or pick the top 3?
We're still in the process of fine-tuning exactly how we're going to do that, because we've still got quite a few entrants that we're about to post. So we're still working on how we will do that exactly.
Yeah, we'll see how many entries we've actually got at the end of it, because we've still got more coming through. And most likely it'll be like a voting system, so it'll probably be on our social media platforms, so people will go on and follow that and be able to vote, and maybe a process of elimination or something like that towards the end.
Yeah, cool. So if we're going to just summarise the comp one more time, like how would somebody enter and what do they get and what are the rules?
So jump on the Show Us During Shepparton Instagram page. You can DM us your photo of what you've got and the story that you've got behind it, what you want to tell about it, and that's what we will post. Any personal details we do not post. We don't post names of studios or artists that were involved. So that's pretty much it. Like, just message us, we'll send you all the details that you need to include, and some ideas of what you'd ideally like to cover this with eventually. Yeah.
That's great. Where does this venture go after that?
Once we pick the winner, as we said, we're going to go through the laser tattoo removal process and the cover-up process. We're going to document all that, and that'll all go on the page as well. So it's going to be quite a long journey for everyone that's following the page. And along the way, we'll do our best to educate everyone and give them opportunities to ask questions. We often put question boxes up on our story, so people can ask any questions that they have about the laser tattoo removal process or just getting tattoos in general. As I mentioned before, I think it's just really an area that a lot of people don't know a lot about, and yet they're becoming more and more popular and more common. Then I think it's just really important that people know what they're sort of signing up for when they decide to go and get a tattoo in the first place.
Is there any common questions that you get asked that I haven't asked you today? Like ones that always pop up?
I think we've probably covered most of them. Come to mind.
Surely, like the pain one gets asked
the pain
5 times a day.
Pain gets asked a lot. Money gets asked a lot.
Yeah, cost a lot.
It'd be hard to cost without seeing it.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah. All right, great. Do you guys have anything else you want to say about Show
just
Shrink?
get all your friends and family following the page and voting for you. The more people that are involved, the better. So get your friends and family following the page and voting for you.
Yeah, you had a lot of entrants that I seen yesterday, but I thought it would be there's lots of people who probably haven't heard about this yet that need to
I've
ASAP.
actually, yeah, absolutely, and I've actually heard that there's a few people that are thinking about entering, but they're so self-conscious of these areas of their body or their tattoo that they're a little bit scared about putting it out there or about offending the artist who did it.
Yeah.
So rest assured we're not going to be naming anybody, and some of the people that have sort of said that they're quite self-conscious about it, sometimes we can crop it to a point where you can't really see a lot other than the tattoo.
And also I think I found a lot of people really want to enter, but obviously when we're documenting the journey, their identity will be revealed. So for that reason, probably a lot of people have held off as well.
Yeah, well, hopefully some people tune in and they send you through some photos, because it's a great idea. I really think it's awesome what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
The Shepparton locals. Have you had any entrance? Is it only open to Shepparton locals? Yeah.
No, we're not going to restrict it only. I mean, if they're from sort of Echuca surrounding areas, longer, just surrounding areas is fine.
It's part of so they would have to commit to the process, and they would have to be able to commit to these appointments regularly. Would be part of the prize conditions. So if they're sort of not very close, it might be a little bit more difficult for them to travel, especially with restrictions opening and closing and stuff like that that's been happening lately. So we've sort of, we're open to that so long as they feel that they can commit to the travelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, you'd be crazy not to if you were in that situation. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No surprise.
All right, great. Last question. I don't know if you're ready for this one, Kat.
Oh, God.
You can go first, Cristen. Who locally inspires you?
Who locally inspires me? Wow, I should have thought about this sooner. I need a minute.
Okay.
No, actually, no, I can't answer it, sorry. I'm going to say my apprentice Shay. She really does inspire me. That girl kind of has really grown in herself as a person in her journey into becoming a tattoo artist, and the way that she deals with her clients and accommodates for their sensitivities and issues that they might be trying to overcome. She's amazing. She's absolutely incredible. Just the way that she handles herself and deals with her clients really professionally. I'm really, really proud of her. So she's inspiring to me.
Yeah, wow. Is she new?
No, she's been tattooing. She's been since we opened. She's been tattooing with me. So she's been an apprentice for 3 years. So yeah.
I think we touched on this last time, but there's no time on an apprenticeship. It's just when you think she's ready.
Pretty much when you think she's ready. She's you sort of want to make sure that you've covered all of the basic techniques, even if not every tattoo artist is going to end up doing portraits at the end of it, or neo-traditional work or whatever. It will sort of depend on their own style.
Yeah.
But so long as they're capable of dealing with every situation that arises, everyone's skin's so different, everyone's personality is so different. There's so many variables in this. So it sort of needs to get to a stage where she can handle all of those situations, and that is literally just going to come from experience and time. And I think probably, the harder she works and the more she does is obviously going to shorten the amount of time.
Yeah.
She's had more experience. So, yeah, that's all it really comes down to.
How have you gone fitting everyone in after all the lockdowns? Surely you're working back to back.
Yeah, it's been on every time. No, look, my clients have been super, super patient. So I'm so lucky because it's sort of getting to the stage now where it's like, oh, really, again? So I know it's time to test people's patience a lot, and not being able to travel and do other things to take your mind of it. A lot of people are like, I just want to do something now. They're looking for that thrill. So yeah, it's been tough, and everything's getting a little bit closer and closer together. But honestly, everyone's been super understanding. So I can't really hope for any more than that at this point. We can only do what we can do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kat?
Yes. Who inspires me?
Yeah.
It is Alicia Flegeltorp. She is the most hardworking, very young girl, hardworking and committed. She has her own business called Alicia Flegeltorp Photography. When I had my son 4 years ago, she started working at LUSH at the age of 19. And I literally left my business in the hands of this girl who was 19 years old. And in her interview, she said to me, if you give me this opportunity, I will not let you down. And I have never encountered such a hardworking young... She is something else. She studied... she just graduated with, I hope I'm saying this correctly, but 2 double degrees with honours, whilst running her photography business, whilst working at LUSH. She was running up and down that Hume Highway with university, running her business, running my clinic, and she shines in every way. She's always so composed, always so beautiful, always so generous to clients. She's this unflappable person and just so beautiful and giving to everybody she deals with. I've just never met a girl like her, and I can honestly say that I wouldn't have the business I have today without her. She inspires me. She's just this little gem. She's a diamond, and I'm just so glad God sent her to me. So she inspires me every day.
And proof of that, the billboard that we have up on Archer Street, which we haven't even mentioned yet.
No.
So we got a billboard to advertise for this, and I sort of went around to LUSH to do the photos, and it was, less than 5 minutes, and Alicia had done the most beautiful photos for us, and I was absolutely shocked when I seen how well they came out. She is amazing.
She's just the most giving person I've ever met.
Yeah, and she's so quite thoughtful in the way that she goes about it. She knew exactly what we were trying to achieve that day, and as I said, in less than 5 minutes she had it absolutely nailed.
How do you guys think you attract these people into your life?
Look, I think certain people that are meant for you will come into your life and they'll stay. And I was in a position where I was in one of the hardest times of my life when I met Alicia. I'd opened my business. I had an 8-month-old. I was, I found out I was 3 months pregnant when I had an 8-month-old baby, and I was thinking, how am I going to do this with the business? I've got no support. And she came into my life at a time that, I always say she's the sister I never had. She's the family I never had. She's just, I would do anything for her. She's my world. I just love the girl, and I just wouldn't be where I am today without her. And I just think those people are just meant to come in your life, and you have to recognise them and look after them and love them the way they love you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Good friends are worth fighting for, 100%.
Yeah, really are.
All right, guys, I am pretty happy with that. Do you want to add anything in at the end?
No, I think we're
we're excited to see who wins this, and we just hope Shepparton really get in and get involved and help us find out who this deserving winner's going to be.
That's it. Everyone get on, like the page, share it, tag friends in it. Get anyone that you think that might want to enter this competition so we can get it as big as we can.
Yeah.
100%. All right, thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for having me.